All right, class, today we are going to do experimental probability. So experimental probability is a probability conducted through an experiment. So it's not what should happen, it's what actually happens when you do an experiment. Now by experiment, that could be any activity that involves chance, such as rolling a cube, okay, rolling a dice, okay, it could be flipping a coin. Any of those type of things are experiments. So a trial is each repetition or observation of your experiment. So each time you roll the dice, that's your trial. The outcome is what you get. So say you roll a 2 on the dice, that is your outcome. And then the event is a set of one or more outcomes, such as rolling a 2 or rolling an even number. So that's what we're looking for. Okay, so here's how we do experimental probability. So first of all, probability, we use P for probability, and in parentheses we say what event we want to happen. So for example, it could be rolling a 2. So we would say the probability of rolling a 2. Okay, so to find probability, you're going to count the number of times that that event occurs. So again, if it was rolling a 2, it'd be how many times you actually rolled a 2 out of your total number of trials. So each time you do your experiment, you count the total number of trials, and then the number of times what you're looking for goes on top. Okay, so probability always starts off as a fraction. Okay, so the first one is, we're going to do experimental probability. It says if you roll a 6-sided die 25 times, and 3 out of those 25 times you rolled a 1, what is the experimental probability that the next time you roll, you will get a 1 again? Okay, so we always want to start off by writing what we're looking for. So we want the probability of rolling a 1. Okay, so that's my event. So that's what I'm writing in parentheses. Okay, now it's going to be a fraction. And on top is how many times we have rolled a 1. Well, we rolled a 1 3 times out of the total number of trials, which is 25. Okay, now again, this is not what's supposed to happen, but this is based on our experiments, how many times we actually rolled a 1 out of 25. All right, and then when we write our probability, we always see, does it reduce? Well, let's see, 3, nope, there's nothing they have in common, but we could go ahead and write it as both a decimal and a fraction. So if we just type in our calculator, if we type in 3 divided by 25, oops, I'm gonna turn it on first, 3 divided by 25, we get 0.12. And then if we write that as a percent, we just move it 2 spots over. 12 would be 12%. All right, so that is the chance of rolling a 1 based on our experiment. All right, so next one. Students have checked out 55 books from the library. Out of these, 32 books are fiction. Find the experimental probability for the next book checked out at the library. All right, so this is the probability that the next book is fiction. All right, so we want it to be fiction, so there are 32 that are fiction. Okay, so that's the number of fiction we have out of a total of the 55 books checked out. Okay, so that would be a 32 out of 55 chance. Let's see, does that reduce at all? Nope, not divisible by 5 or 11 there. So let's see, so I'll just type in 32 out of 55, and I get a nice long decimal there, 0.58181818, etc. So we'll just round that to about 0.58, okay, which would be about 58%. All right, now then it says, what's the probability that the next book is not fiction? Well, if there's 55 books and 32 are fiction, we can just say 55 minus 32, and whatever's left over would be not fiction. Okay, so 55 minus 32, that would be 23 books out of 55 that are not fiction. Okay, and then if we type that in our calculator, 23 divided by 55, we get, again, a long decimal. This time, if I round that, let's do 2 decimals, let's say 40.42. So it's about 0.42, which is about 42%. All right, now I want you to notice something. These books in the library, they're either fiction or not fiction. So if you look at the two percents together, the fiction plus the nonfiction, together they make 100%. which again, 100%, that's all your books. So 58% are fiction, 42% are not fiction. Okay, if you add up the two decimals, it's going to add up to 1, as